to another edition of Did You Know Doctor Who, what you may not know about Doctor Who. This time we're going to have a look at the second story in the trial series, Mindwarp. I hope you enjoy. The special effect showing a ringed planet in the sky over Forest Beta early in the serial duplicates an image seen at the end of the 1985 New Zealand film, The Quiet Earth. Brian Blessed turned down a major film role so he could work on this serial. Perry's final fate happened in part because Nicola Bryant was interested in playing a villain. Nicola Bryant was also happy with the way Perry met her end, believing it to be shocking but effective for story. Of course, we'll have to wait to see what she thought of about the Ultimate Foes twist. This is Eric Soward's favourite story in the trial season. Despite overall liking this story, Nicola Bryant hated filming the interrogation scenes where she was tied to a rock by the sea, as she doesn't like the sea. The King's helmet is based on the samurai. According to Colin Baker, Patrick Reichardt was baffled by the serial and never knew his bloody lines. Brian Blessed claimed the production was not an entirely happy atmosphere due to the threat that the series might be taken off. He later said that he thought Colin Baker hadn't made up his mind on how to play the Doctor, and he found his version of the Doctor unhappy. More problems behind the scenes was during rehearsals. Philip Martin was royed about the amount of silliness going on. Brian Blessed was telling anecdotes and the cast started to play their roles in a very stylised manner. Brian Blessed based his portrayal of the King after his own performance as Prince Voltan in Flash Gordon. Cyril was altered from brown in Vengeance on Varas to green here. Brian Blessed loved the script and loved the idea of the King not understanding what a woman is. This story features the first time a werewolf or werewolf-like creature appears. A rather hilarious outtake occurred when Brian Blessed had to say, "Right, let's go find the mentors." Instead, he said, "Let's find the fuckerons." There was silence in the studio and Baker and Nicola Bryant expected Blessed to get a telling off from John Nathan Turner. Instead, Nathan Turner tiptoed down the gallery and said, "That wasn't very helpful, Brian." Blessed replied, "Sorry, old boy, can't remember the fucking words." A retake took place. It was during production of this particular story that Robert Holmes passed away, with Eric Soward having to break the news while on set. More issues behind the scenes. Most of the time, Colin Baker had no idea if the events of the story were real or if the events had been tampered with. Neither Philip Martin nor Ron Jones knew, and Eric Soward had resigned his post as script editor by the time production began, so he played it as if it were a lie. To quote Colin Baker, "I was very confused by it, but I had a very different problem, especially in Mindwarp, because there was a point when I said to Eric Soward, the script editor, when I'm trying Perry to this rock and threatening to torture her, am I doing it for some subtle reason of my own, because I think I'm being watched or whatever, or because I'm being affected by the mind probe, or is it a Matrix lying?" There were three alternatives as I saw it. He said that, "I don't know, you better ask Philip Martin." So I got in touch and gave him those three alternatives. He said, "I don't know, Eric wrote the trial stuff, or the Matrix stuff was added in after by Eric. You'd better ask him." So I went to John Nathan Turner. He said, "Oh, whichever you like. This is the level of involvement at the time." Eric was going through his own problems at the time, disagreeing with John Nathan Turner of all sorts of things. I felt like I was all very sloppy. It was all cobbled together a bit. The stories were written independently and the trial theme was put in on top. I felt like the Matrix was lying, so I really was torturing Perry, but it was very difficult to expect the writers to know what's happening, but that's not always the case. And that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Mindwarp is an interesting story. It is certainly a step up from the previous disaster, which was The Mysterious Planet, which I absolutely hated that story. But Mindwarp is a lot better, in my opinion. Is it perfect? Not really. It's not particularly the greatest, but it's not that bad either. It is definitely weaker than Vengeance on Varas. Vengeance on Varas is so much better, but this is still a decent sequel per se. I do quite like the return of Cyril, and I like seeing more of his people, as bizarre and obscure as they may be. I love the ending with Perry. I like how dark and dramatic it is, and I know some people didn't like that because of course Perry got kind of tortured the entire way here, but I quite like it. I think it was quite effective. It really puts into motion like how disturbing these events truly are, and obviously, is it made up by the Matrix? You never know. Is it made up by the Time Lords in the trial? And I do quite like that aspect as well, where you don't know whether or not it is real or it's fictional. I mean, with the Sixth Doctor, it is so unpredictable that you cannot tell whatsoever. But at the same time, I do feel like there are some things which I just never cared for. if it was a little bit clearer, maybe towards like the end, that, oh well, this is all made up, this never actually happened, or this did happen, it probably would have cleared things up a lot better. I do think that is quite a slow story. Like, the first half of it is very slow, with the second half being much better, in my opinion. Obviously, Brian Blessed is a show stealer. He is absolutely fantastic in this. I absolutely love the King. He is brilliantly insane in every sense of the word. He is this mighty, violent warrior. I love him to pieces. He's fantastic. And I love hearing some of these things behind the scenes, even though the behind the scenes was absolutely dreadful for this story. Really puts into motion like how hectic the trial season really was. It really was just complete and utter anarchy in a way. But nonetheless, Mindwarp is an okay story. It's a lot stronger than the previous story by a long shot, but we're going to have to see the next two stories to see if the trial improves even more, or maybe it doesn't improve and it just gets really bad. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Did You Know Doctor Who, and I'll see you next time.